More than 4.5 million children were denied partial or full access to learning since government decision to shut down schooling in 2020 due to the coronavirus pandemic. Nearly 2 academic years lost, and now the battle facing teachers and students is trying to catch up.
From the day schools closed in 2020, when they were being opened and being closed, no meaningful learning has been taking place. You get from the statistics from Zimbabwe again, I think, is radio. We're looking at the number of people who access the education through radio. The numbers are pathetic. How many people access the education online? Over 90% had no access to education during the pandemic. So it was now an elite arrangement. It was now an elite program of learning. Only those who had money, the access to the internet, electricity, but those who could pay private tutors and coaches managed to access education. Standards have fallen. We have seen the quality of lessons being given even on radio. They are very pathetic. We have seen attempts at other forms of remote learning were also very pathetic. The quality of the content was also very pathetic. Not looking at the number of people who managed to access it. So Zimbabwe's education continued to slide. It continued to suffer under the pandemic.
The closure of schools also contributed to a drastic increase in the number of high school dropouts. The country's official statistics agency, Zimstat, recorded more than 60% of school-going children in Bulawayo and 56% in Harare dropped out of school last year. Countrywide, young girls fell pregnant, forcing them to quit school. Many others failed to write the year-end exams after struggling to resource online means of learning amongst other challenges.
50% failed to write public examinations last year because of the expected 1.2 million learners who were supposed to write examinations. Only around 600,000 managed to pay examination fees. So really, it's an issue of poverty. Families are failing to raise the required tuition fees at a time when government is also failed to intervene as prescribed in Section 75 of the Constitution, where the government itself is mandated to be funding basic education. So the burden of paying for learning is on the shoulders of the parents who are living in extreme poverty. So because of that, learners are dropping out. But secondly, when learners continue to go to school and there's no learning taking place because the teachers are incapacitated, eventually they choose not to come back. You can't continuously go to school when you know that there's no learning and teaching taking place. But also thirdly is the issue of COVID-19. When some learners went home for a very long period of time, they got trapped in child labor, some got trapped in child marriages, among other social ills, and then it became extremely difficult for them to find their way back to the classroom.
Zimbabwe's education system has managed to retain its ranking as one of the best in Africa. This is despite the socio-economic crisis the country faces. But unions fear that without proper support from government, their sector will become like the rest of the crippled public service.
We can still boast that we have quality teachers, but who are not teaching. We can still boast that we have a competitive curriculum. We can boast that we have a competitive examination board. But those things now do not really help us in a way because the quality teachers are not teaching. The competitive curriculum is not being taught. The once competitive examination board is now almost collapsed. So the education sector in Zimbabwe is really regressed. And I think we are now one of the worst in Africa. Of course, we have countries which have their own problems of access, where schools are very limited, among other things. But in Zimbabwe, with all the schools, with the curriculum, with all the teachers, no learning is taking place.
Another hurdle is the fact that teachers' unions and government are currently deadlocked in salary negotiations. If an agreement cannot be reached, the reopening of schools may be in jeopardy. With nearly 2 years of schools lost and the sector under-resourced, can Zimbabwe retain its reputation of quality education and having the highest literacy rate in sub-Saharan Africa? Noma, Bolani, SABC News.